It isn't quite rated R, but because this special is all in black and white, the gore can be bolder and more risque on camera, and this certainly has gore. Welcome back to my channel, MCU fans. It is time to discuss the first ever Marvel special presentation, Werewolf by Night. It's on Disney Plus this Friday, October 7th, and features Michael Giacchino pulling off double duty, not only as one of the world's greatest composers, but director as well, with a small-scale, self-contained story that takes place on a dark and somber night, as a secret cabal of monster hunters emerge from the shadows and gather at Bloodstone Temple after the death of their leader, Ulysses Bloodstone, finding themselves thrust into a mysterious and deadly competition for a powerful relic in a hunt that will bring them face to face with a dangerous monster. And as much of a hardcore MCU fan as I am, it is my favorite franchise after all, I wasn't excited for this special coming into it. I just didn't know what Michael Giacchino could deliver as a director, and the trailer did not convince me regarding its tone. But this is such a fun love letter to the monster movies of the 30s and 40s, evoking this chilling sense of dread and of the macabre as it explores this new corner of the MCU. This is by far our deepest dive into the supernatural, even after Moon Knight and before Blade, whenever that comes out with the issues that is having. This is such a fun, quick, small scale, and self-isolated story. I know a lot of you are going to be asking, what about Easter eggs? What does this connect to? What does it reference? Honestly, and this is not a spoiler, nothing. It's just a story that happens throughout the course of one night, and it's only preoccupied with telling this small story with all the elements that it has going for it. It doesn't pull anything from any other movie or show in the MCU. It doesn't connect to anything. It doesn't open the doors for it. It's just this one story. And that does it a ton of favors. It benefits not only the story being told, but Michael Giacchino as a director. You can tell he is not constrained by having to connect dots in this wider cinematic universe, which was a great decision from the writers and producers. I am willing to bet this is the lowest budget production in the history of Marvel Studios. But I mean that as a glowing compliment. Michael Giacchino leans hard into the 30s, 40s classic monster fare, never aspiring above its budgetary constraints, just delivering this small-scale story in this one setting with all these legendary monster hunters pitted against one another, generating this sense of unpredictability where danger can come from all sides, and with interesting characters that stand out. Gael García Bernal as Jack Russell is a wonderful outsider, where from the very beginning you don't feel like he exactly fits with the rest of this crew, and he generates a genuinely heartwarming rapport with Bella Donnelly's Elsa Bloodstone, even if they don't dive too deep into it, but we'll get to that when we get to my issues. The aesthetics are so stylish and so evocative of the vintage horror style of those classic monster movies. The production design is wonderful and kooky and weird and creates so much atmosphere that is unique to this special, and there's a great reliance on practical effects. There's CGI in here, particularly with one specific character that I'm sure you've seen in the trailers, and I love seeing this character of manthing brought to life, and I love what they do with this character. And that's about as much as I will expand my thoughts on manthing. Just know it's wonderful to see him. There's a lot about this special that surprised me, and from frame one assured me that this is definitely not a comedy, but a horror. Just a horror from a bygone era, where all the vintage flourishes are brought back into the fold by Michael Giacchino's direction and he honestly really pushes the boundaries of PG-13 due to the lack of color. It isn't quite rated R, but because this special is all in black and white, the gore can be bolder and more risque on camera. And this certainly has gore. Action set pieces with wide shots capturing actual choreography and stunt work have arms and necks being chopped off, blood splatters all over the camera, and they're able to capture those more intense sequences. There's a great moment where the camera is just zooming in on one of the characters' faces, and you just feel everything this character is feeling as they witness the massacre unfolding, and you just sense it all through ambience, through shadows in the background. This is where Giacchino's score is at its finest. This is where everything is brought together. So, graphically, it can feel more intense than Multiverse of Madness with its gore and violence, but it's also campier in its characterizations and setting. There's sprinkles of levity spread throughout in between dialogue exchanges between characters, which is really fun and creates a great balance, but a consistent tone overall. This special is able to intrigue you immediately with its setup and satisfy with its intense climax. But I do have issues with this, and they're mostly found in the second act, where I feel they could have pushed this to 70, maybe even 80 minutes, where the second act feels all too brief and superficial. It feels more transitional as a part that needs to flow between the first and the third act, rather than an essential part of the story, a step we have to take to get to the stuff that really matters. And so I think fleshing things out in that second act a little bit, give it a little bit more time to breathe as we flesh out the characters, as we understand a little bit better of the world and the lore and the mythos of this bloodstone that all the hunters are searching for. Why are they searching for it? After gathering and seeing that animatronic of the dead guy talking, that just reminds me of one of those Disneyland animatronics, whether you're talking about Pirates of the Caribbean or even the haunted house ones. It's kind of a good problem to have, where I enjoyed my time spent in this atmosphere with all these characters that were so mysterious so much that I just wanted more with them. I wanted to understand more of this world. I wanted to dive deeper into what brought them together, how this really works, what are all these monsters that they already captured, and a little bit of their backstories. Particularly when it comes to Elsa Bloodstone, because Jack Russell is so well defined in his mannerisms and little nuances in the performance, I feel like that second act just begins to scratch the surface of who her character is. It definitely gets my interest, but then it just has to move on to the climax, which is very exciting, and it gets my blood pumping, and it does so many incredible things in the direction and all the performances and how it brings it all together. But I just wanted more from that second act, from the real meat of this film, for the payoff to feel even more gratifying on a character standpoint. Because the story is very straight to the point, and I really appreciate that, but there's enough there to flesh it out without feeling like they're stretching it too thin. Plus, as this is a low-budget Marvel production, the practical effects are iffy. Obviously, you have a title character named Werewolf by Night. I'm not going to dive too much into it, but while the face actually looks great, it's the body that just has something off about it. It looks just a little bit too bulky, where at points it can look like a suit. When it's these awesome wide shots and you see this character far away, great. But when you have these close-ups, and while the black and white coloration, or lack thereof, helps, it definitely stands out, and maybe not for the better. Maybe enhancing some shadows, or just shoot him off screen, maybe not capturing the character in full, might have felt dissatisfying by the end, but it would have hidden away a little of the kinks in the costume. Quick as we howl at the full moon for me to give my final thoughts on Werewolf by Night. Let me know how excited you are for the Marvel special presentation in the comments below. What more do you want to see from these Marvel one-shot specials on Disney+, and what is your favorite classic horror monster? Anything and everything down there. And if you enjoy the MCU, if you're enjoying this Werewolf by Night review, or if you just love movies and TV, this is the place to be. So consider clicking that subscribe button, and you won't miss any future conversations on your favorite movies and TV. Werewolf by Night is wickedly fun. Giacchino goes hard on both his score, and his atmospheric direction, fusing classic horror sensibilities with modern filmmaking techniques, resulting in suspenseful thrills and intense action set pieces. A stylish tale of the macabre. And I'm giving Werewolf by Night a B. That is just my take on Werewolf by Night, but I need to know yours in the comments below, so start the conversation, because that's the most important part. Thank you so much for watching, and there's so many more reviews coming very soon for LFF. There's a playlist right here. Thank you to my channel members for always supporting the channel, and until the next one, love each other, and love the movies.